And like the bloodlust fills them with rage and they're just like, I need more blood. But that's me with carbs, and I get like one taste of bread and I'm just like, I could have another.
So
no one would have to know.
There are two kinds of people in this world, and we just figured out which one you are.
Happy New Year. What a wild ride 2021 has been. The birth of this podcast was definitely one of my best highlights. My New Year's resolution was to get these talks on Apple Podcasts, and we have. So what changed? Well, there was a bit of an issue with calling it the whore next door, and I'd rather you fine folks can listen to my rants and guest interviews anywhere. So for those who are new and those who have listened from the start, happy 2022, and welcome to the Totally Wholesome, Not Dirty podcast. All of the links and contact remain the same, so you can still send your submissions for comments and advice, art, music, and anything else to twndpodcast@gmail.com and voice messages at anchor.fm/TWND to potentially be featured on upcoming episodes. Today's returning guest is Caitlyn Brooks. You may remember her from episode 2, and if you haven't, I encourage you to go back and listen. So much has changed for Caitlyn and myself since I first sat down with her, and I think you're going to learn a lot, but more importantly, get the laughter that we all desperately need after the post-holiday blues. Thank you for listening, and please consider subscribing. For every subscriber, I have another subscriber, and that warms my heart. So enough from me, let's get into the show. Your face, wherever feels comfy.
I like it all the way inside my face.
All the way. You can't put it all the way inside your mouth anymore because they have this barrier to stop me from deep throating the microphone.
She needed it with all the
I know.
all the industry human beings coming here. We needed to make sure we weren't deep throating your microphone.
I know,
for
we
fun.
have to be careful. Potentially by the time that this is released, this podcast might have a slightly different name, as some of you guys know, I'm not sure when this will be released, but it's sometime in January. If you guys are listening now, also welcome to the show. I'm not going to intro title it. I'm sure I'll create an intro by the time this is released because I'm having censorship problems because of the title. Yeah, so the whore next door apparently isn't really translatable. I'd more made this as a joke anyway, so I thought that it was a funny running title, but it didn't really take into consideration how much we're censored and stuff like that anyway. So potentially I'm thinking about turning it into the Totally Wholesome, Not Dirty podcast so that I can keep the acronym. So that might be the name of this podcast now. I'm not sure by the time you're hearing this. What do you think?
The irony is fantastic.
I was just getting so frustrated because it was like I even had some friends who are like I for instance have like a content creator friend, and she's like, and I love listening to your podcast, but then it pulls up in the car and like I'm driving around with my kids. And they're like, what's the whore next door? And she's like, I don't, I mean it's fine, but I don't want to have to explain it. And I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Probably like should calm down a little bit and not have to is there any real point to like fight the good fight to like keep the name? Do you know what I mean? Like what does it really come down to? Like what are you fighting for at the end of the day?
I just hate that we have to censor all of the sexy, but there's
make sure you can see the fun thing with this arm, you can bend the arm, push the arm down, but if you pull it in a proximity, yeah. Do you want to be comfy? No. How are you comfortable? Say how you're comfy. I'll make it happen for you.
The accommodation is real.
Because now we're not covering your face, but you're also getting close enough to pick you up, and then you don't have to be like,
lean forward.
We want comfort. Do you want to know why we want comfort today? Because it's a pajama day. We're both very tired, and I think with everything also that's been going on with you, a pajama day is very warranted. Do you want to talk about that for everyone who hasn't perhaps listened to your episode yet? This is my friend Caitlyn Brooks.
Hi guys.
David, throw the social. 3, 2, 1. Social media. Follow Caitlyn. And make sure that you guys come back and listen to your episode. I think you were episode like 3 or 4. Like
it was in the infancy. Beginning. It was in the infancy of the entire idea of your podcast. Yeah. It was actually really cool to be here during that time because now that I'm here today, I get to see a lot of the advancements that you've made so far because like you've updated tech, you've updated ideas, you've updated quite a bit, and it's really cool to see kind of the progression. So I feel a little spoiled.
Thank you. I'm really glad that I was able to have you back too because it has been something like, especially when I started it, it was very new and just kind of like I don't know what I'm doing. We were going off of one Yeti mic, and
it's great timing though, because like you mentioned before, I've pretty much been out of content creation almost since the last time we
for sure, because you got your fantastic new tea towels like right after we shot the first podcast. You were talking about it, you were so stoked on it.
Literally the next like week and a half,
explosion of crap.
Yeah, literally the next week and a half I was so excited because I got to go get my top surgery done, but I had a little bit of reservation during that because I was also getting a hernia repair and a diastasis recti repair, which is basically where they go in and tack your ab muscles together.
David, put a picture from science.
Yikes.
That's what it looks like. Wait, can we react?
I don't even know what the picture is, but I'm just like, yikes.
Can we react to it? 3, 2, 1. Okay, cool. Okay. Gross.
So I was on bed rest, basically healing from that. I wasn't able to sit up, so all of the requirements.
I came over. She's trying to serve me food.
I made a charcuterie board, from a leaning down position. I was like, I asked my roommate, just bring me things, and I put it on the board. And then he's like, okay, I'll leave it in the kitchen for you. And then I didn't think about how to get it from the kitchen to my bedroom. And she goes,
all right, so I come over to her house, right, to like hang out with her because she can't move. And I was like, I'll bring weed, we'll maybe do crafts and just girl chat.
Couldn't move my arms, couldn't sit up.
And she goes, all right, so I bring everything into the bedroom, and she's sitting there, she's like, oh, I'll be right back. And I'm thinking, all right, she got like pee or something. And I hear clattering around the kitchen. I'm like, what are you doing? You can't lift things. You think you can do these things, Nemo, but you just can't. Oh, speaking of charcuterie, and I know that this will seem weird in January, but I have your Christmas present, and can I give it to you?
Stop! I didn't bring yours with me. It's tucked underneath the tree.
I saw this, and I thought
I told you guys I was spoiled. Look.
Little adventure. No.
Okay, so in January, this will seem very odd to everybody.
This is our New Year's present.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Do you want me to open it now?
Yeah, go for it. Stop it. Because you were just talking about it.
Yeah, so I just got my new tea towels the last time we hung out, and shortly after that, I actually got COVID. So I went from being
I heard that too.
Out for one thing to out for another.
Yep.
I'm so excited. I feel like I'm making it
on the ground.
Oh my God! Stop! It's so cute.
It's for charcuterie. It's a lotus. It's like cute. New life and rebirth after you were damaged, and like now you can make the boards and carry them. You don't need people to carry them.
I'm a little bit of a yogi too, so the fact that it's a lotus, I'm like, I'm so excited.
That's why I saw it. I was like, oh, that's Caitlyn.
I love this woman. She's a very good gift giver because she nailed it. All right, let's clean up on my mess.
Oh, girl, just leave it. Like, throw it at the camera for all I care. All right. And speaking of fun things that we have done together, before we get too far into describing your interesting journey the past few months, would you like any wake and bake? Absolutely. So we have been supplied by Cannovative. Love you guys as always. And we have some acai mini motivator, or we have their Candy Kush motivator.
Ooh.
What are you feeling?
Let's do Candy Kush because I'm sweet like candy.
All right, so I'm going to open this, and why don't you start talking a bit about your experience with COVID?
So COVID wasn't too bad for me, and I'm very thankful. I don't talk about my little person often, but my mini mite got COVID too, and they were sick double the time that I was. So for me, it just basically was a crazy little head cold. But of course, I was quarantined, which was the worst part of it for me as a human. Just not being able to like go do all of the things that I needed to do or wanted to do, because I'd just been cleared to take my titties out into public. I was cleared to go out and
and you were like, I want to go flaunt my shit. And
I was
now
like,
I have COVID.
I want to go make content and kiss women and rub my titties on things because they're new.
I have these new titties and they need to touch everything.
So I was like, oh man, I can't do that. Dang. So the day I got a clear test, because I tested like once and it was still positive, and I tested a second time and it finally came back negative, I booked EDC and I went to EDC for the first time, being off bed rest, my first new titty experience. I decided to go walk 3.5 5, 7, 10, 12 miles a day. And
then
well, it sounds like
no
a great
more, and then and then
it sounds like a great thing. Like, yeah, I've been on bed rest. I'm gonna work out and walk around and rage and have a great time.
But it doesn't really work that
my
way
body
because your
went,
body was too rested, and then your body's like, no, I'm not ready.
Yeah, my body said, excuse me, do you not forget that you were on bed rest a few years ago for an accident where you fell 3 stories? You have previous injuries in your body.
Yeah, and you can't do this anymore. Also, we're not 20 anymore.
Oh, I know. So my body decided to break on me while just, walking casually. Just casually walking. My meniscus went.
You were just walking.
Just literally just walking.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, I invited you to something. It was shortly after that. You were like, I would love to, but my leg. I was like, what do you mean your leg? You just got surgery on your tits. What does that have to do with your leg? And you're like, well, I was walking and I broke it. It's like, what do you mean? So I'm in a wheelchair. What?
So cue another 6 to 8 weeks of me being down and out. And so it was just a little period of time where my body told me, pause, hang on, reevaluate, reset, recover. And it gave me a lot of mental time to plan and prep.
Yeah, for sure, which is also kind of important because I think a lot of times when we are doing that thing, especially when you have your new titties done, for instance, you want to like put it all out there into the world, right? We end up doing way too much.
You want to run.
Yeah, and life has a way of like slowing you down and being like, hey, take a minute, because you have so much coming up now that you need all this time to figure out what you're going to do with it and maybe not break your leg.
And maybe not be down and out in, another week. So I'm actually really excited because it gave me the mental downtime, well, the physical downtime that I had to take. So it had me running with ideas in my head for content creation, new projects, things I want to do.
Which is great because it's like now you have this whole game plan for how the next however 6 months, year, whatever looks like as far as like coming back into everything. And you're like, oh, I'm actually refreshed. Thank you. I hate myself. Anyway.
Good morning. The coffee is still kicking in.
It is not here yet. I was like...
Takes 30 minutes for caffeine to kick in, so you got time.
Girl, thank you. Because I have like zero energy. I don't know, the past couple days too here in Vegas has been so gray that it is so difficult for me. Like winter I just had Eve alone.
Came. Like winter finally came. You know how they're like, winter is coming, and that whore.
And it's here. Yeah, that fucking whore needs to stop coming.
She came on everything.
She ruined everything. She's
everything
a fucking
needs to be washed. Seasonal depression is a real thing.
It really is. And I kind of never took much stock in it. I was just like, oh, I'm always depressed.
Well, when you're juggling a lot in your life. But now I'm
not always depressed.
When you're juggling a lot in your life, which you were for a couple years, I mean, amassing where you are, and I mean, you're a wonderful ex. Just all the things that you've juggled.
Yeah, well, and it's not even, but now looking at it, it's like, I'm so spoiled. Like, we live in a place where it is warm and beautiful, like, all the fucking time. Like, what am I complaining about? But it is that it's hard to get out of that head funk when it just sits as gray over everything.
It gets cold, and we definitely have a winter here, though, because I'm from San
Diego.
Diego.
It's dark at, like, 3 p.m., and you're just like, well...
I'm from San Diego, where it thankfully doesn't get very cold in the winter still. Like, I feel like it gets colder here in Vegas, and people don't realize that it's such an extreme climate. It's so extreme.
What a dirty mistress this weather is.
But you have like the extreme hot, but then in the winter it's extremely cold and extremely dry when it's cold.
And the dryness is what makes it even colder.
My skin's been like
coupled with that, you also have like the abrasive winds that just like want to rip your flesh off your body when you're outside for 2 seconds.
So we grazed on my accident or like from earlier. I have a metal plate and 8 screws in my left arm, so there's metal plate. It's like a little fake elbow. When it gets cold, I feel it. It's like bone chilling. My insides are cold.
Oh yeah, fuck.
Yeah, cold is like the one thing that I don't do. I'm happy to stay in tropical places where it's warm. That's why I live in Las Vegas.
Because you have that, can you like sense when the weather is going to be bad? Like how those people always like, oh, Feel it in my elbow. Winter is here. Like that kind of thing.
So it's more, like I said, that bone-chilling cold. Yeah. When it gets here in Vegas, we get that very dry, crisp, abrasive cold. So I don't really feel that coming. I just step into the outside and I'm like, ah!
You're like, oh.
But right. I did know that when it got really cold and it was snowing, it's like the moisture in the air makes your elbow feel, or my elbow feel different. Your elbow.
It could. Maybe it does. I haven't been in a moist climate for a while.
I mean,
it's been at least a month. I haven't been working with other girls lately. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's been a lot of solo action up in here.
We can make it moist.
Oh my God. I hear that your poops and your leg are healed. Would you like to get moist?
Also, how do you know I'm not moist already?
Okay, and here's another funny thing, because what is it with the word moist that people find so gross? Like, I'm sorry, but it's not that bad of a word. Moist.
It doesn't even have, like, the weirdest syllables together.
It's only about, like, how you say it, like, moist.
Okay, if you say it like that, I'm out.
Like, do you want to come lick my vagina? It's moist. It's so moist. It's like, it's a way of how you say it. Like, you can make any word sound gross. Like, all right, give me a word and I can make it sound gross.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. Like, you can.
I love it.
Spaghetti.
I think that,
like, you can make it. It's like, it just.
I think that goes for saying that there are some languages that just sound like sexy languages, where other languages don't sound sexy, no matter what you're saying. You could be saying the most intimate, sexy thing in the world, but in certain languages, it's not going to come off sounding like pillow talk.
Yeah. I just feel like it's also one of those things that, like, the internet just tells you to hate, and so you have to.
Preconditioning.
Yeah. Like, here's this word, and it's trending that this is gross because this one person had a weird conversation about it, and now the entire world thinks that it's a gross word. But I don't think it's that bad.
I don't think it's that bad either. Although there are things on the internet that do have a definite reaction that's pretty typical.
Like what? I mean, I agree. I'm just wondering.
I'm trying to think of one that, like, everybody would easily know. 2 girls, 1 cup.
Oh, I feel like even if people haven't seen it,
they know what I'm talking about.
They know,
and that's something.
And they're like, "This is as much as I ever need to know."
That I definitely have a standard reaction to, and I'm okay with it.
Is like, what do you think is the grossest thing on the internet that you've seen? Because, like, our job numbs us, I feel like, to. I'm just gonna put this out for now. But
I think gross is relative to each human being.
I think it is, but I think also with our job, we're so desensitized to so many things that, like...
That's what I'm saying. There are so many things that I think some people would look at as gross that I'm like, I kind of like that.
Or like, hey, I'm going to send this to my friends and weird them out.
And then there are other things that I'm sure other human beings would be like, that's pretty normal. And I'm like, ew, 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 ew.
Like what do you find ew, Lego Batman?
For me, okay, so I know a lot of human beings who think those doctor pimple popping videos are really cool. And so they pop up on my So Satisfying thing on my Snapchat. Like, no. So I can watch them. But I've learned that as soon as it turns into a cyst, I immediately shut down. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm freaked out. Why is it so different? Really? I don't even know. How is a pimple different than a cyst? But
they're so satisfying.
It freaks me out to a deep level.
It's like, oh my God, I love it so much because, okay, so I have my own extractor kit. I like to do it to myself, but I like to do it to other people too because I'm just like, I know where the worms live. And I've talked about this before. Like, you guys can see the excitement in my face, I'm sure. Like, I love it so much. No, because you can tell the difference. You can tell which one is going to be what, right? Because when you're inspecting the pores, when you really get the fuck in there.
Why are you not an esthetician? You could literally just practically orgasm on people all day.
I can't stick to a schedule because I'm so busy with being naked. So anyway.
I do prefer you naked.
I do too. Like, I'm wearing pajamas right now. I own pajamas so that I can look like I wear pajamas.
We literally had this conversation when I got here. The first thing I said was, So I got up this morning and had to figure out what pajamas to put on.
Yeah, because like, oh, we sleep naked like rational human beings.
The only thing I do wear is I now wear a bra to bed, but not like a underwear
but
bra.
to help support the new tatas, you have to.
But that's it. And I'm just like, feel it is so silky.
But okay, so the worms. So
because you know where they live.
Yes, and you know where they live. You after you have extracted enough pimples and blackheads and little things like that from pores, you get to know the differences. Like when they're little whiteheads, you know that it's either going to be, if it's just like a whitehead, you're going to get a nice little core that comes out. But if it's red around a really small whitehead, then it's going to be a lot of fucking pus and blood. And it's not going to look like anything was in there, but that's what was in there.
She's really into this.
Yeah. Guys. And then the ones that are black or like brown that almost look like they could be moles, but they're not.
I think I found her
Those
kink.
are the fucking worms because you get the little angled extractor, right? And you just press the wire against it and you go with the direction that the pore comes so that it comes out really easily. And you just start to guide it and then like this big, like a big chunk of worm comes out of the back. And it's so fucking gross and it's so satisfying. I love it so much. And you just have to imagine if that was inside of your skin, that must be such a relief. Like that you're feeling, because I know it is for me when I do it. It's like a fucking.
I love you so much.
I'm not jerking off to this. I just enjoy it.
She's like, I'm not jerking off to this right now.
I'm around company and on YouTube
right now.
Oh no, but I just find it so satisfying. I don't know. And then I just like
this is what I'm saying is I can handle the pimples, but when you're watching them, then it turns into like cystic stuff, and I'm like, I can't handle it. I can't do it. And so that's not even the grossest thing I've seen on the internet, but that's just the one that is like reoccurring, I guess,
because it keeps popping up.
Yeah, it's just reoccurring, and
just like.
But
dad jokes.
Dad jokes are my absolute favorite kind of comedy and humor. If
they're
it's
so
punny.
Simple. I just love a good pun. That's how my dad actually is.
I love that. See, punny jokes are like my guilty pleasure.
I love to groan. I groan at myself constantly, especially when I have to like go back and edit like cam streams of myself, and I'm just sitting there looking at myself because this is how I cam. But with no clothes, and I'm just stoned and just talking shit to a camera.
Amen.
And so when I go back to edit this, and it's like you get stoned, it's like you remember what you talk about, but you don't remember like how you looked. Like half the time I'm not even looking at myself in the camera, and I'm just like, I have no idea what my face looks like, and I'm just like, how are people watching me? Do people watch this to be entertained? Okay, that's insane to me because I'm so obnoxious.
When I do lives on like OnlyFans, I will repost my live or send my live out in a DM, but not ever once, not a single time have I rewatched that. Why? Because then you guys would never see it. You would never, ever, ever see it because I'd find the part that I'm like, nope, can never be seen by human eyes.
I edit mine to make them more fucked up. Like, I put captions and shit, like, sometimes.
I love this.
Or, like, I do, dun, 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 like, zooms into my face. Like, I try to make it fun because I'm like.
I absolutely love that. I like to give them, honestly, when it comes to my lives, I edit my videos and I edit so much of my content that my lives I like to keep very raw, and that's one of the reasons I don't go back and watch it, because if I do, I want to cut things out, I want to put things in, I want to, and I'm like, nope, take it.
That's why I'm always like, if you guys want to catch me live, I don't do it as often as I used to, so this is the time, show up, otherwise you're gonna get something that you're gonna watch and be like, did this actually happen? I'm like, yes, but not with all like the cool pans and zooms and like text and stuff. Like, you can't do that live.
Live is definitely my jam. I feed off of having somebody else to bounce things off of. I thrive in that. So I love being live. It's probably what I do most.
Yeah.
And since being down and out for my injuries, it's what I've been doing least. Yeah. So I'm getting really excited with a whole rebrand that's coming for me in January.
Ooh, it's exciting.
To do that again, just be live.
Yeah.
Well,
having an audience is so much more engaging. Like, it's awesome to make the content and it's fun to be creative with the content, but that's what the draw of camming always was, because it's like, it's like a mini, maybe this is dumb, but it sounds like it's like a mini stage
Yes,
you know what I mean?
definitely.
Like your private little stage where it was all private. There's like a lot of fucking people. It's the internet, for Christ's sake. But like, it feels like, you know, a live audience, and like you're being an entertainer, and it's like a lot less pressure because there's not actually people there, and you know, you can be a little just more free with that, which is what's really fun. And I think that's a big part of what draws fan base to you.
I think
is your ability to do that.
For me, I cam in like my space at home, and I think that I'm very lucky because I used to cam in a studio, and now that I cam in my space at home, I feel more myself. So my live streams are a very equal balance of 50-50, like all the sexy stuff and all the like privates and exclusives that I do on Streamate. But really, honestly, it's like coming and sitting in my bedroom if you were my best friend. Like 90% of my camming is just me being a total dork.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little sad that I can't smoke weed on Streamate anymore. Yeah. It's part of their recent rule change. And so before it was me smoking weed and hanging out, and now it's me just kind of being a dork.
Just go smoke it in the bathroom.
I just step off cam because, like, respectfully.
Like, just stand up with your head out of frame, like...
That's what I'm saying. Just respectfully, I step off cam.
Respectfully. But yeah, and that's what, oh my God. And it's crazy. So like having had to do multiple solo episodes because of cancellations, it is so awkward for me to just sit here and talk to a camera. Like
that sounds
easy
hard
because of like, it's just me talking to a camera, which I'm used to, but there's no screen behind it of people like talking back, you know what I mean?
It's hard to have a one-sided conversation because where is the conversation part of it?
Like
I respect that.
Like the last solo episode, I was like, I got 40 minutes out of this. Oh my God, that's shocking. I felt like it was 15 seconds of time talking.
I respect that. When you're a new cam model, I feel like a lot of new cam models or beginner cam models, or even if you've been in the industry and you come back to camming live, I feel like a lot of people can relate with the fact that when you sit in an empty cam room, oh my God, it is like talking to yourself. It is like entertaining it's like having a conversation without the other side of the conversation. And I don't think that people always understand that or realize
and that's why it can be so hard
to
come out into the real world and have an actual conversation.
Yes.
Because you're like, wait, people say stuff back like in real time, and I have to like react in real time, not with lag. Like you can't blame lag for like reading 5 people's comments and then replying to them individually. That's not how conversation works.
I'm so glad that I almost never deal with that on Streamate. Oh my gosh, that's probably the biggest benefit is I almost never deal with lag. It's so real time for me. But my biggest problem is you learn to entertain in a way where you're predominantly talking to yourself. Mm-hmm. Then you go to have a conversation with your friend and realize you never fucking shut up.
And you're just like, oh, or it's that sometimes it's like you don't know how to be a part of the conversation, so you're too quiet. And then they end up doing most of the talking because you're like,
I wish I had ever had that problem.
So do you ever get this? I don't know. I've had it before. I have it less, actually. Doing the podcast has helped me be able to talk to people a lot better, which is cool.
I love that.
But do you ever get it where you're in a conversation with someone and they're saying something and it's a little long-winded, but you have like points along the way that your brain thinks of and you're like, oh, I can relate this, but I don't want to interrupt. But you're trying to hold on to that thought so that you can still bring it up while still trying to pay attention to what they're saying. When 5 more thoughts pop up that you're trying to hold on to, and you get to that like to where you can talk, and then you're just like, all of your points vanish and you're just like,
So I realized this is actually something I've gone over with my therapist before, because I have always felt like I'm the kind of person who interrupts a lot in conversations. And it's not to be disrespectful or because I'm not listening. It's actually quite the opposite. It's that I'm listening so intently.
You've said that to me before.
And I want you as a human being to know that I relate to you and that I understand, because I want you as a human being to relate to me because it brings me joy.
Yeah.
So I catch myself interrupting, and it's something that I have always, when I go back, and everybody goes back and thinks about their conversations at night, you know, that like running through those conversations.
Yeah, okay. So also, side note, conversations that you're going over in your head that nobody else is thinking about. Yes. Nobody else is thinking about how you.
So when I do that, when I do that, I always realize you talked so damn much, or I say you interrupted so much. So people I talk to regularly, like you said, I've already had this conversation once. I apologize and I'm like, hey, I don't mean to interrupt you. And if you ever feel like I'm interrupting you, like, tell me.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, I'm working on my social skills, so I'm going to try to interrupt you more so that I actually say stuff.
And I'm like,
but
yes,
it's also
please.
still really hard for me, so I'm going to interject now and then and be like, I forgot.
A lot when the more nervous I am or uncomfortable I am, the more I word blab. I know that some people have the exact opposite and they'll get quiet. Dear God, I fucking wish.
I get quiet. I'll sit there and I'm just like, okay. And that's when a lot of people, I think that I don't like them or that I'm like standoffish or that I'm a cunt, because when I'm uncomfortable, I just start to get like quiet and I'm just like, I have nothing that I can possibly contribute to this conversation.
See,
I am a garbage degenerate human. I'm a piece of shit. Nobody fucking look at me. How do I human right now? What the fuck?
Yeah.
And I start overthinking it and then I'm just sitting there like,
my brain decides that any and every thought that I think must be said out loud immediately so that people can speak back to me. So I'm like, there's like reaffirmation.
Yeah,
I don't know why my brain does it, but as soon as I get nervous, it's like a word dump. And then like I'll realize what I said 5 seconds later and be like, was this the appropriate time to say that?
I don't know how long this bottom button has been unbuttoned, but I hope that at no point my poopy came out. I think we're good. Sorry. I just noticed that. I was like, sorry, David. I'm sure David would let me know.
But
bitch, put away your ditty.
I don't know how we got on that tangent.
Oh, we were talking about the fact that we both have different ways of like awkwardly fucking up conversations.
Right, which stemmed from
which is kind of perfect for both of us.
As we awkwardly fuck up this conversation.
You're like, I'm going to try to talk less. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to try to talk more. We can do this. We got this.
And
you
break.
And me. All right, ready?
Okay, we got this.
We got this. Like, just fucking hype each other up because, my God.
Oh, it all came from Camming Live and how those play into awkward conversations.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
See, I'm actually really excited because outside of Camming Live, I really like the live in-person events. And I know not everybody does, but again, I'm a little bit of an exhibitionist.
I'm an exhibitionist. What I don't like is the disrespect. I don't like the disrespect.
Yeah.
But it's like, I did enjoy so much about the conventions. It's just like the last convention was not great. But it was also at a time, I think, that I was going through something that was not
I'm actually really
great.
excited because I like the industry-based events where it's mostly industry human beings. So I'm going to XBiz in January.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was invited to that, but I'm doing other stuff at the time. Yeah.
I understand. I'm going to XBiz in January, and then my first fan event back in, I don't know, almost 2.5, 3 years now, is going to be X3. And I'm kind of excited.
The new boobies.
That's exactly what I'm excited about. Is it's right after my rebranding. Mm-hmm. It's like great timing. So I'm excited to go back into live camming and then see humans.
Yeah, and be careful and don't
supportive humans.
Break your leg.
Yeah,
and walk a little less. Maybe have some fans like carry you on their shoulders like a queen.
Okay, so I know this sounds really, really, really lame, but I actually am limiting like how hard I'm going to go because I know that my excitement is level 145 right now because it's my first event back. But I'm also like, make sure you take breaks. Make sure you're not over scheduling. So like I haven't actually reached out to like film content with anyone yet or like really set plans.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm like, I don't want to overwhelm myself with my first event back.
You have to go at your own pace. It's like when you're high and hungry and you're like, I don't want to cook anything, so I'm going to order something. And you order enough food for like 10 fucking people, you're never going to eat it all. You know what I mean? But then, so you either waste a bunch of food or you do eat it all.
I was just about to say, catch me on a good day.
All these regrets, okay?
True.
So don't overindulge.
Catch me on a good day. Food is my love language. I can't eat it all. That sounds like a challenge.
That sounds like a motherfucking challenge.
What is your biggest comfort food? What's your go-to comfort food?
I have such a sweet tooth. It's so bad. I need to be so like last night I ordered
sweets before bed. That's the worst for me.
Last night I ordered donuts.
Yes.
Like
I had mochi donuts
2
with
o'clock
you.
In the morning.
I had
2 o'clock in the morning. I ordered donuts.
I had mochi donuts with you for the first time, and since having mochi donuts with you for the first time, I've had them like 5 more times.
They're so good.
They're so chewy and delicious.
It's ridiculous.
I'm not a big donut person.
You can like take off a little piece at a time, leave it come back, have another snack later.
I'm not a big donut person. I'm normally like a cake kind of human.
Yeah, but they're cakey.
So
but they're also like not.
As soon as I met this donut that you brought to my life, I was like, this is the greatest thing that I've ever eaten.
And they have different flavors every month, so you're never bored. It's always a different donut.
Delicious. So donuts are your go-to comfort food.
I love donuts, but as far as like stuff that's not just like snacky, I just love pasta. Like
pasta. You're a carboholic. Pasta.
I love carbs so much.
I like that.
It's so hard for me to not eat the things that I like really want to eat. I've been so good lately. We've been cooking, my man and I, and we've been eating so many vegetables.
Vegetables.
I've grown to appreciate a lot of vegetables, but there's so many vegetables, and sometimes I'm just like, I want to eat an entire loaf of bread. I want to shove it down my throat. I don't even want to taste it. I just want a whole baguette just down my throat. I want it so.
I will admit to at least once or 5 times in my life.
I've been so
you know
healthy.
Those big dollar loaves of bread you can get at like Albertsons or like Smith's or Kroger's, depending on where you are.
The ones that you can just scrub some Nutella on.
No. I just rip the crusty top off.
I like to dip it and stuff
hollow
and make it worse for me.
This is disgusting. This is really disgusting. So they're like this big. Rip the crusty top off and I just hollow out the inside, and like your whole arm eventually, my whole arm eventually fits inside it, and you're just like grabbing.
No, I appreciate that bread. Because you understand, bread bowls are the most amazing thing in the world to me, because you get to eat all of the bread, all the good part of the bread from the inside, and just leave the crust, because that's the bowl. You don't eat bowls. We're humans. We don't eat bowls. You get the inside of the bowl.
I'm not gonna lie, my favorite part of the bread bowl is eating the bowl afterwards.
You're like, get this fucking soup out of here, motherfucker. Like,
I like when the soaked, soggy bread at the end.
The only purpose of the soup in a bread bowl is to make the moist bread wet.
All right. I'm gonna judge you after this. What kind of soup do you put in your bread bowl?
Clam chowder.
Ooh. Clam chowder or
corn chowder. Any kind of chowder.
Chowder.
I fucking love chowder.
For me, it's cheddar broccoli soup with a second of clam chowder.
That too.
Cheddar broccoli soup.
Oh my God. The amount of bread bowls with broccoli cheddar soup that I ate from Panera Bread in college was insane. Like, I don't know how I wasn't 350 pounds.
I'm a cafe Zupa girl myself because...
Well, I didn't have that.
Get me with those strawberries.
They come free.
I love it.
It's free.
I love it.
They just give you a chocolate-covered strawberry for free. It makes no sense.
I feel like royalty every time.
If Cafe Zupas wanted to sponsor this, I would not say no, because I don't understand how you can just give a free strawberry covered in chocolate. They don't even
I feel like royalty every time.
Like, who in the choose to menu just goes, who checks? No, I don't want a chocolate-covered strawberry. I don't want that. Who would check that box? That's an option. It makes no sense to me. Oh my God, it's so delicious. Fuck, I kind of really want Cafe Zupas.
My eye just twitched because I literally was trying to think of what kind of human would not. I was like, oh my God, who would do that? Like, eat it later. I'm okay with, but not at all.
Thanks. Not for me. I'm cutting. Like, fuck off.
That person better be allergic to A, strawberries, B, chocolate, or D, all of the above.
You better have some shit going on.
ABD, by the way. There was no C.
Oh my God. That makes me so angry to think that there's a person out there that checks that box and they're just like, they refuse a free chocolate-covered strawberry. It makes no sense to me.
See, sweets and
upsetting.
Sweets and carbs are a definite high one for me when it comes to comfort food.
Yeah, like anything like that. Like you said, like pick one. I can't, because like, give me pasta, give me bread, give me death. Just carbs, all of that, please.
My comfort food is Filipino food, because that's my grandmother cooked all the time.
Yeah,
and
you said.
So literally everything I can think of, though, that I would eat is, again, carbs.
Yeah, for sure.
Is again carbs and things like that. But Filipino food is my go-to, like, comfort food.
Do you know what I'm thinking of right now? Those ube rolls, like the
ube rolls with
with the little purple stuff on the inside. Oh my God, those are so good. I've been thinking about those for a while, but I just can't make it over to the store where I know they have it because I've been so busy.
They're right down the street from me. I'll get you some. They really are right down the street from me.
I love you so much. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
They actually make, most people don't know this, the yam stuff that's inside those, they make it as like a jam. So you can just spread it on toast.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's an ube jam.
Shut up.
I'm so serious.
But then I would need to keep bread in the house, and I can't do that because I will not allow bread to stay in this house. Like yesterday, I bought a loaf of Asiago cheese bread that is made fresh daily.
Bring rolls to your house every time I come.
Girl, like, I just bought this last night, like at 6 p.m. It is over half of the loaf is gone.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm a sucker for that cheddar jalapeno bread you can get.
It's so soft and fluffy. It tastes like Asiago cheese all the way through the bread. Even the crust is good. It makes no sense, and I can't stop eating it. And
so, based on the present you got me, you obviously know that I'm a big charcuterie board person.
Yes, we've charcuteried together before.
I always have crackers and bread and stuff for my charcuterie boards, like, in my house. And I have to, like, actively... ADHD brain allows me to do this. I have to put them in a cabinet that I don't frequently open because if I don't see it, I don't think about it.
Yes, exactly.
Because if I open that cabinet, the first thing I'm like, oh, bread.
Like I could just have a little bit, but it's never a little bit because you
back.
It's like when you know a predator, they taste blood for the first time, right? And that's me with carbs. Because it's like sugar. You know, they get the taste of it and they're like, oh, and like the bloodlust fills them with rage and they're just like, I need more blood. But that's me with carbs, and I get like one taste of bread and I'm just like, I could have another. So no one would have to know. I could eat all these donuts right now. And then I do. And it's so bad. And I can't do it. I have to be so
there
careful.
Are two kinds of people in this world, and we just figured out which one you are. There's the person who has to abstain from things that are bad for them because they fight overindulgence. And there are those people who, in no human realm could they 100% abstain from things.
They can't.
They have to take little pieces of these things. So that's two different kinds of personality types.
Constantly.
And you are clearly the extremist who's like, yes or no. You're not the... I have to have a little bit to get me by. No, that's not you. You're like, yes or no.
I'm like, that is how I am. And that's why
that's why my personality, so I understand.
And that's why I don't drink alcohol, because it's yes or no. So it's like, I'm not drinking alcohol, or I'm drinking all the alcohol.
See, that's my personality.
That's why I don't do it.
I'm not a moderation
I can't do it with carbs. That's why I'm like, when I allow myself carbs, I'm like, okay, today is a day where I'm having bread. And I'm having all the bread. I'm having all the carbs. It's not going to stop until I go to sleep. It's going to be from the time I start eating, which is like 7 o'clock at night, until the time I go to bed. Like, who fucking knows when that is, but I am eating that entire time.
I respect that. I'm an all or nothing kind of human.
I think that's why intermittent fasting works out well for me, because it's like, here's the problem. If I start eating like in the morning, I just want to snack throughout the whole day. And when I just eat, I just feel lethargic and I don't feel motivated to do stuff. But the only thing I'm motivated to do is eat more.
We are the exact opposite human being. If I don't eat within the first 15 to 20 minutes of getting up, I'm violently nauseous all day.
No, fuck.
I have to eat.
I get more nauseous if I eat in the morning.
That's insane to me, because
I can't eat until like it's dark outside. I'm like, oh, I forgot to eat. It's time to eat now.
When I travel, the first thing I do before I check into my hotel is I go pick up a bunch of bananas so that I can eat within the first 10 minutes of waking up every day.
I knew that so I have bananas as an option because it's morning. And I was like, we are smoking weed, but we should probably have something a little healthy so we could eat a banana. And bananas are kind of phallic shaped, but it's food and we're consuming it. So I don't think we can get in trouble for it. Because this is a totally wholesome, not dirty podcast, TWND. I don't know if that's what I'm calling it. So this might not age well. We'll see.
But yeah, I have to eat within the first 15 to 20 minutes, and then I eat probably every 3 to 4 hours. And if I don't, I'm like the opposite of like a magpie from like the not a magpie, the little gremlins. But what are they called before they're gremlins? Mogwai. See, I was close. Mogwai. I think that's correct.
Mogwai. Don't feed them after dark, and
don't
pour water on them.
I'm the opposite.
Can you not get wet after?
No, I'm
time?
I was just supposed to say I'm the opposite of that thing. Like, if
You're
you stop,
I can get wet and feed me all the time.
Because if you stop feeding me, I turn into the gremlin, not the cute little fuzzy one. Yeah. Because I'm a grump when I haven't eaten. It's probably the one thing that like puts me in a foul mood. I just am short and quippy very quickly. So I don't know how you do intermittent fasting. I would eat people.
I feel like I've always done it in a way because, like, especially the way my cam schedule used to be, it's like that I would have like no time to eat, and it's like I didn't want to eat before cam because I knew it would make me sleepy and just like lethargic on cam.
All of my fans can testify to this. We are eating together.
Like we're eating. It was years, I think, before I let anyone ever watch me eat anything on cam. And also, it's disgusting when I eat because since I go for such long periods between eating, once I finally, my body is like, you're ready to eat now. It's like, it's just like, it's disgusting.
I love that.
And all I can focus on is eating the food in front of me and like zoning out either on like what I'm watching or just zoning out completely and just shoveling food into my mouth.
I 100% had a tip to feed me chocolate-covered strawberries during Valentine's Day and a tip to feed me a Christmas cookie during the holiday season last year because I don't fuck around with my food.
Oh, by the way, I forgot. What are you doing tomorrow?
You? Question mark.
Naughty, but unfortunately for you, it's a bloodbath. So we're making cookies tomorrow and edibles.
Actually, I do have plans tomorrow, but
you do.
We might be able to work around them. I'm going to a mental health retreat.
Ooh.
Yes, it's an industry-based mental health retreat.
Oh, you wanted to talk about this?
Yeah, no? I'm actually glad you brought up. What are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah, it's after the fact, but I think it's still good to like. Talk about because from what I've heard about this company, it's beneficial.
Hopefully once this has aired, there's already another retreat in the process of being planned. As I've mentioned 100 freaking times at this point, I work for Streamy, who is partnered with Pineapple Support. Pineapple Support, who is run by a phenomenal group of human beings and a phenomenal group of representation, like all of the people who are involved with them. I think everyone I've talked to who's a advocate for them or like a partner has just been a great human being. They're a mental health support for our industry, adult industry, which is phenomenal. They basically pair human beings in our industry with healthcare professionals who don't have an implicit bias, and they give really great resources for all things mental health. Obviously, they're hosting a retreat, which is going to have talks on, how you view yourself personally, legal talks about our industry. It's all inclusive on things that like stress us out. You know?
Things that a lot of people don't know about, and especially like I feel like a lot of people in this industry can be very isolated and don't really have a good support system.
The biggest thing that I learned when I started seeking mental health for myself, and I felt super alone when I went through this, and it wasn't until going to an XBiz event and sitting in the room with Pineapple Support and hearing that there were other human beings who've dealt with this exact issue. The biggest issue I learned when I started to seek help for my mental health, from my situation and in my personal life, was there are so many therapists in this world who look at our jobs or what we do or how we make money as the core problem. It's almost like they can't see what else is going on in your life as an individual issue. It all relates back to...
Or like the circumstances surrounding your life that may have put you in this industry in the first place. And then also the inability to step outside the industry once you're in it.
They focus on almost like our industry has to be re-traumatizing versus for some people, myself included in this, a lot of the time it's exactly the opposite. It's re-empowering. It gives you the control over your autonomy, yourself, it gives you back the option to say yes and no in certain situations that in your vanilla life may have been taken away from you.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a platform that I was shocked when I started to finally, get the strength to go through your own trauma and like sift through that shit. When you finally get to a place to want to go through that, to sit in the office of somebody who has a completely different viewpoint as you, you don't realize how much friction that causes and how hard it is to work on yourself if the person that you're sitting with doesn't have some of the same views and ideologies or understand your views and ideologies.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard that from a lot of people, and honestly that was a huge reason, just hearing so many stories from people who that happened to, and then also having tried to start therapy when I was going through my divorce, and also getting that same opinion and reaction that basically,
see, it's a common thing.
Everything was a problem, like not looking at all of the years of abuse or anything that led up to the point of me being in the industry that wasn't even my choice to be a part of, because it's like they didn't explore enough to get to anything besides, well, this is what you do, so this is the problem. And it's like, well, the problem also comes from, well, now what else do you do? Because it's like they don't want you to do it, but they take away your option to do almost anything else, because everybody sees you through the prism of, well, that's what you are. No matter whether you try to step back from it and do something else or not, all they can see you as is the person who got naked on camera or had sex.
I think this is another side to pull away from the just mental health part. I think this is another part of sex work is work. That whole mantra. I think it's not only about justifying that making money on our sexual identity is valid. I think that it's also separating that sex work is our job, not our personal identity.
Exactly.
And
yes.
It's sex work is work. Sex work is not. And for some people, sex work is who they are. For some people, sex work is who they are. And I'm not discrediting anyone who that's what they portray their personal identity as. But for other people who keep it very separate and their sex work life is different from their real life or separated from, I feel like people can't ever see that from anyone in our industry.
It's just like not everybody is the same. So yes, of course there are people who are there like, porn is me, I am porn. This is me.
And I respect that. I'm not saying that's not a bad thing.
But also people should have respect for that as well. But people also need to understand and respect that some people, it's just like, at the end of the day, it's like
sex work is work for them.
It's
working, not a personal identity.
We turn it off, and it's like you can't always turn it off, because it's like you always have to be available, because at the end of the day, it's a service-based industry. So
I think that's entrepreneurship in itself. Like there are
you always have to be available.
Any entrepreneurship type job, I feel like there's a lot more time commitment than a 9 to 5.
But I feel like with this, it's like even being available is just being this, like right now, because there are people who like us that watch this, or being, like this on the couch and they're sexting them while we're eating potato chips, because it's like at some point you turn it off a bit, but you're always still on.
For example, going through my healing process.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me because I couldn't be available to my fans in a parameter. And there were some fans who were so encouraging and supportive and so there for me that I almost have like a newfound appreciation for them.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was shocked to see how many people, when I did take a large step back, were bitter, angry.
Yeah, there's always going to be those people.
Accusatory. I was very shocked because I didn't realize I had people like that in my fan base. But I mean, there are happy and sad people in any area of life. So, but I was just
perks of the job is that we get it. And I say perks of the job sarcastically because it's kind of like the difference with, you get that in any other industry. But with us, I think one of the differences is, and this kind of goes for, I think, any kind of streamer or content creator, not just the adult industry, is kind of like, and I think I've talked about this before, but we're putting so much of ourselves into what it is that we do. And because we can't ever fully turn it off, anything that kind of negatively comes back is so easy to take as like a personal attack on our person, because that's how they're trying to perceive it, but they don't even know us as a person. Trying to separate how they feel about us, we have to like remember they don't know us.
When I was a baby cam model, this was probably the hardest thing for me. As a human being, because I'm a people pleaser, like to my core. Hey, this is one of the reasons I go to therapy. But I am a people pleaser to my core, and when a fan, and I'm also on Streammate, so I don't do one show with a large audience of people. I do much more individualized shows, one-on-ones. So I do a lot more fetish-based content, a lot more, in my opinion, pleasing content, because I'm specifically trying to please one human being or one or two human beings at a time.
I completely understand
versus a large group. So for me, to have somebody have a negative opinion, leave a negative review, give me bad feedback, it would wreck my mental. Like, like I would be like, I put my all into that.
Like, I tried so hard. Like, and also, and like, if you didn't like it, I always had this option. I was like, if you don't like it, because especially in the beginning, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm filming everything on like the shittiest webcam known to mankind. It's built into my laptop. That's a piece of shit. Like, do you like this? Like, I was always like, I'll redo it, or like, tell me how it would look better.
Well, because
like,
I was doing mostly live, it was when people would automatically log out without talking to me, or would rate me low and like not tell me why. It would like fuck me up. I was like, I would literally get offline. This is obviously when I was a baby cam model. I've gotten away from this, thank God. But I would get offline and I would literally go to my comment section or to my rating section and scroll it and see what every single person had said. And if they were negative, I would almost give myself, there's no other way to put it, stage fright the next time I was getting ready to go online.
Oh my God, because this many people thought this. And it's like, but I feel like the people who are negative are the loudest because they're the most fucking miserable.
And I really learned that when I let that go and stopped obsessing, it was so much easier for me to get online. It was so much easier for me to be available to my fans because I wasn't constantly worried about the ridicule. But that had nothing to do with the way that I'm being treated, because I'm being treated the same way. I have the same amount of naysayers, if not more, as I did before. It was just like I had to mentally progress.
Yeah, to a point where you kind of just realize it's like, they all got their own issues. It's like, I think that anybody that has the audacity to be negative on the internet has their own issues going on.
And I think for me as a human being, I came into sex work originally as like out of necessity. So I was young and it was out of necessity. And I think my fear was if one person had a negative opinion of what I was doing, I was never going to make money. I was never going to be successful. I was never going to make money. I was never going to go anywhere.
Yeah, because you get that in your head because you're like, well, all these other people who are going to visit my page now are going to see these reviews from these people, and they're going to.
Or it was like, if I can't please,
not experience
if I can't
the right
please these people, like I was like, if two people were unhappy and I get 100 more fans, that's gonna be 25 people unhappy, and then it was always a domino effect in my head. And it is true that on the internet there's very much so a domino effect when it comes to good or bad publicity or anything like that. But for me, I kept thinking that one opinion was like detrimental.
The be all end all. But it's like our brains do that automatically. Is like for everything positive that can be said or anything positive going on, it jumps to what's the most negative about the situation. And whether it's the most negative comment out of like 100 positive comments, you get like the one that sticks and it just sticks in your head and you're like, no, I'm not a she-male.
You want to know what?
Don't fucking say that on my page. Why would you say that? And it's like, or like any of the things, like, like, you're this or you're that, and it's like those the little nuggets that stick with you. So you have to like push it out and just be like, they have their own issues going on. It has nothing to do with me.
One of the things that helped me is there are a couple women in this industry that when I first got in the industry, I really idolized just because of either what they were accomplishing or their business hustle, who they are as a person, how they presented themselves to their fans. Like there are a couple people that I like just idolize. They're almost like my creative crush. Like not a sexual thing because like they're not my physical type. But, like,
I understand completely. I had my own.
So there are a couple people in this industry, and I started to pay attention to their pages. Not for this reason, but what I noticed is they did have these negative, ostracizing, rude, disrespectful, even comments underneath their pages in a mass way, like in a way that like I wasn't even dealing with. I'm still not dealing with. But it was almost really reaffirming for me, not that they have to deal with it because I don't want any woman to deal with that.
Yeah, I don't want any person to have to deal with that, like women regardless, because it's just...
I think I say that because I see it more happening on these pages for women.
Yeah,
more
especially
often.
Because it is often more women that
and
are
I'm
on
also
the
looking at people I idolize. So
yes, of course.
So no gender like bias there.
No. I'm not saying that. I was just thinking negativity as a whole.
But the biggest thing for me is when I saw that, I also understood how successful these women were, and I started to...
Regardless of those
exactly, and it was like the first time that like I went... Like, you can be successful if people hate you. And it's okay.
The funny thing is, it's like when you are able to step back and take that comparison, then you can also make the argument that...
Because I find these women amazing.
The more known you are, the more people know of you. It's like you said, all right, so that one negative comment or that one negative person doesn't like you turns into 25 once you get 100 followers or whatever. That's the same with anything, because it's just that the more people know you, the more shitty people are going to know you too, and the more people are going to either be jealous or just hate on what you do, or, you know, be whatever for whatever reason. You're just more open to that because you're more in the public eye. But it's like, it's hard to recognize that at first, and it's also hard to recognize as a new performer in any regard the fact that, oh, people know who you are, so of course you're going to get this negative attention no matter what, because you are in the public eye. And it's something that a lot of people don't consider. So especially like when you're just starting out, it's so overwhelming because you don't expect it. You're like, how could this possibly be happening to me? I'm fucking nobody. But and you are.
I still
in a very small way.
I still feel that way. And I think I've actually had that conversation with you a couple times, because I look at the women I idolize and their follower counts are in the hundreds and thousands. And I'm like, I'm nobody. How am I dealing with this? And then I look at it in comparison to other human beings or new models and things like that. And I'm like, you've worked very hard. You've amassed quite a bit. And I have to kind of check myself and be like, be grateful for where you are. Be proud of what you've built, and accept that obviously you are going to deal with this backlash. And
we all do.
I'm definitely very happy that this industry has helped me mature mentally that way, though, because I think that it carries over into your real life. It carries over to how you have other people treat and respect you, because like I said, for me, mental health basis, this was very reclaiming for me of my sexual identity and who I am as a person. And it carries over into other areas. And I see myself more confident, more sure of myself, more able to tackle things because I have dealt with this in my professional life. So I'm grateful for it at this point. But in the beginning, it almost had me running for the hills and giving up.
Yeah. And I didn't really have the give up option. It was all or nothing. But it was kind of like, I understand all of this. Like, there was so much trepidation. Like, I had no idea what I was doing with anything when I started.
I feel like I made the biggest mistakes you possibly can as a cam model. And because I got them out of the way, it was the only reason.
This episode with Caitlyn, you should listen to it if you haven't. The mic quality is terrible, but the stories are good, and we talk about using naked humans as furniture, so go check it out.
Definitely I made the biggest mistakes I could. Sold out, basically, is the only way I can put it. And it was making those mistakes that made me get over myself, essentially.
And I'm just making mistakes and either learning from them or repeating them.
And for me, I did actually, because I went through my accident, bow out of the industry for a minute, and I took a big step back, and I was like, am I even willing to go back? Am I even willing to do it? It's even something that
I still want to continue with.
I was more like, can I as a person handle everything that comes with it? Because it was just a moment where I realized that as fun and exciting and vivacious as this industry is, I got smacked with all the other stuff that it comes with, all the mental health stuff, all of the bad, for lack of a better term. And I'm so glad that I did, because like I said, I matured as a human being. But man,
it is those big, it's those big slaps in the face, and it's those huge obstacles that kind of, it does make or break you. So you have to figure out like what it is that you're willing to do, what it is that you're willing to sacrifice. And sometimes you're not given the opportunity to decide either, because it's decided for you. And that's what a lot of people don't understand or realize or appreciate.
There are a lot of women in this industry that I have spoken to that is how they came into this industry.
And a lot of people, and then it comes down to, well, why don't you just do something else then? Well, a lot of us find that in a way that when we finally do take control of what it is that this job is to us, and when we are finally able to get out of whatever abusive situation brought us here, we find this new awakening inside of it that's like, oh, I was never able to control anything sexual in my life, and here's what I did accomplish. I want to accomplish more, and I want to do that on my own, and I want to do this job, and I want to do this job in a way that makes me feel sexually empowered, because I never was before. Now you can go tell us to do another job, but what good is that going to do? Because what jobs are available to us? You know, it's like, it will go start a business and go start this and go do this.
But
I can't even
unless
call
you're
this thing the
working-
whore next door without it getting censored. So it's
But
like, you know, calm down.
I've seen a lot of women who in our industry have retired or have decided to move into a different facet of life. Almost all of them, at least the ones that obviously I am following, this isn't everyone.
No, yes.
A lot of the women have amassed businesses in our industry because our industry accepts them. I feel like unless you have a large fan base which is going to support the business ventures that you're going into, it's going to be hard to enter back into a vanilla realm and establish business because people, especially if you're on the popularity level that like you are, people are going to see you as a porn star. They're going to see you as branded as sexual or a sexual identity.
And it's like, I have no problem with being branded sexual, and I don't know why people do have a problem with it.
I personally don't either. It's who I am.
No, I'm saying just like people on a whole. It's like, I think if like people are so
but
taboo
corporate,
and
what I mean
weird
is like
about
a lot
sex
of corporate industries,
no, for sure, because they don't want
stray
that
away
as their
from that.
image.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, you know, you make do with what you can. And you know what, when it comes down to things at the end of the day, I love entertaining, and I may only entertain fucking 50 people, or you know, the people on my subscription pages or whatever, or the 5 people who listen to this. Who cares? What I'm saying is, I do it for the love of doing it.
When I go live on Instagram and there's like 3 of you and I'm still going ham.
Yeah,
that's
because
me.
It's like it's just it's fun. And honestly, like for so long I wasn't able to do this job or really branch outside of just camming in any manner because it was not made available to me.
How
and
exciting.
It's like, and so for me, it's just a matter of exploring and doing things that I find fun and doing things that like
you
make
said,
me feel good.
Like you said, you started this podcast as
learn to talk to people.
And you said even it was kind of on a whim and a little bit of a like not taking it super seriously. And now I'm like, this is the most fun. And like now you have a pretty fun reach, and we're doing fun things, and I'm here for the 999th episode. Kidding. I'm manifesting, okay, guys?
Yes, we're planning really far.
999th episode where we're going to have a green screen the size of a football stadium.
The whole house is going to be painted as a green screen.
But like I said, look at the progress you've already made in something that you didn't even know if it was going to amass to something fun or interesting. So, I mean...
Yeah, and it's just fun to explore. And it's like, even, you know, just getting this stuff or whatever, like making it more fun for myself. And that's what I talked about on a solo episode. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how many people like it or follow it or subscribe it or whatever. Because I already have enough people who do that. It's like, girl, the amount of stolen content I've been having to go through lately. My God,
DMCA,
it's ridiculous.
Yes,
thank you. It's been a lot. So it's like people are already out there. People already like me. So it's like, you know, watch this or don't. Like, it's something fun for me to do and be able to talk to my friends, and maybe to the couple people who listen, bring some awareness about some things, whether it's mental health or whether it's somebody's funny experiences or their bad experiences, or give some humanity to the people that they're either jerking off to.
I was just about to say that.
Or even just other friends that I've had, like different, you know, photographers or makeup artists, different, business owners and things like that.
I love that you've amassed such an eclectic group of friends just in what you do and all of the experiences that you've had and like the travel. You've amassed an eclectic group of humans. So it's it's been very interesting, even myself watching the podcast that like I haven't been on, seeing some of the interesting human beings that you've touched base with and stuff. Like you had the motivator people on here at one point.
So shout out Cannovative again. Woo.
Yeah, because my butt definitely learned some stuff on that podcast, because as much as I smoke weed, and I smoke typically pretty great weed, no mids for me.
Yeah. Darby is super knowledgeable, and I'd honestly love to have her back, whether representing Cannovative or just her in general. But she's she's such an interesting human being. And it's like I love at the start of this year, like it's like I didn't think that I would be, I guess this will be at the start of, last year. Because this is coming out in January. What am I talking about? I'm trying. Anyway, I'm stoned. Bear with me. But I didn't think that I would meet or interact with, 80% of the people that I have this year. And in large part because of this. And I'm like, but this is nothing. And they're like, but we want to come. I'm like, why? Okay. And it's like, well then, people care enough to come on. And
wait, hold on. And I know this is going to be shocking, but people find you Interesting.
David, cut that out.
No, but seriously, it's amazing.
I find
to
other
me.
people interesting because it's like I just want to expand my realm of people. I didn't talk to people for so long.
When I messaged you when you asked me to come back, I was like, the fact that you think there's more things we could talk about, and you were like, stop, and I was like,
we've been talking for an hour already.
Stop.
Do you want to keep talking? Let's talk about stuff. What should we talk about?
Oh, I don't know.
Fuck, I wish people left more like emails and voicemails and stuff. I
was like, I'm an eclectic human being, and I think that's the hardest thing for me. I was like, what do you want to talk about?
We can talk about so many things.
That's exactly.
Like, okay, so blah, 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 blah. I asked this of my friend who was on recently, Lexi. She's very shy. She didn't want to get into all of it, so maybe I can ask you.
Ask me things.
Do you want to talk about sex stuff while we're sitting here in our pajamas?
Yeah, that's kind of naughty.
Okay. Actually, David, I have a really good idea. I'm gonna go make us more coffee because it's still morning, and since we're at an hour, we'll see you guys next week. All right, but I am gonna keep recording David, but this is gonna be another episode. I've just deemed it so. All right.
Take 2 coming.